I think on some months we were doing like 6,000 a month, which is like losing money with our expenses for sure. And now I've actually been able to commit to a production plan for the entire year, which I don't think I've ever been able to do. I know exactly how much we're going to produce. I know that I can scale it accordingly and that I'll be able to sell through that inventory so that I'm not either sitting on inventory and, cash is held up, or running out of inventory and then we run out of sales and expenses can't be met. So yeah, I have a whole plan for the year, which is super exciting. I mean, yeah, I was never able to plan for the future before because I didn't know where revenue was going to come from. So I couldn't really confidently go into, a meeting with our production team and be like, yes, I want to scale this up every 3 months, because I had no idea if I'd be able to sell through that. So yeah, I think that's the biggest like revolutionary thing is I have a year plan. I feel really confident about it. I'm basically just like impatiently waiting to get the production in so that I can hit that next step and hit that next goal and scale it further and further. It's fun once you get past that frightened stage. Yeah, I genuinely enjoy it. And I just feel like I wake up knowing that my future is viable. Whereas before I was like, I feel like it's viable, but I don't have anything that is solidly proving that for me. What it felt like was waking up every morning and just having no idea what the results of anything were going to be, and spending huge amounts of effort just trying lots of different things and not having things stick, or if they did stick, having them not stick for very long. So yeah, it was just really, it felt very unstable. Like there wasn't any certainty of the future. Like maybe we could pull it off, to do a sale that would pull in some revenue. Or maybe we'd work with one influencer that was successful. But everything else was just kind of like throw something at the wall, hope it sticks, without any certainty of it sticking. So it was a lot of throwing things at the wall and failing. And yeah, and I think this just is so different because you are still being creative and testing things, but once you get them tested, it's like this very secure way of exchanging, revenue for new customers that you can actually rely on. So yeah, I would say the way it felt before was definitely just uncertain, unstable. My nervous system was like racked all the time. Very grateful to be over that now. No, I was definitely skeptical. I definitely got a lot of feedback from my friends and family saying, maybe don't do this. It sounds too expensive. It sounds, like where's the proof? But I don't know. I guess part of it was my gut intuition. I knew that something had to change in the business. And so I was like, I could just keep spending money with no certain outcome. Or I can invest in myself. That was the other thing I kind of thought about it as was I was sort of tired of feeling like I was in the dark with marketing. I wanted to feel a little more empowered and like I had the ability to understand it and to like basically take the reins in my business and not just hand it over to an agency and hope that they could deliver results. I wanted to, be a little bit more in the driver's seat. Yeah, and just having a bit of trust in myself. I do a lot of like sort of spiritual meditative exercises, and in that process I was kind of getting this like, yeah, this is the track you need to be on, and you need to trust that this gut instinct that you have is the right one. And I've often found that when you take a big risk, a lot of times it pays off really big. And I think I was at a point also where I just had tried everything else and I was like, it's this, or I wasn't going to call it quits, but I was like, or I'm out of ideas. What surprised me the most is probably just like how much effort you guys put into it. Like, I think a lot of times with, whether it's like a paid program or whatever, you see the high price point and you think like, oh, this might just be like a scheme that people are like, putting something together, charging a huge price point, giving you this thing, and then just being like, I'm done. But in reality, it's like, I feel like I have this whole team of advisors. I have this whole community I can lean into. like the value, I know you guys talk about value all the time, that I've gotten out of it has absolutely matched that. And it continues to. Like Joseph told me that you guys had redone the entire program, and I redid it, and basically got the second pass with even more value, learned even more. And so knowing that I can continue to access that, and I can continue to have, if something new comes out, I'm going to know because I'm part of this community. Whereas before, if something new came out, I would be relying on an ad agency to tell me about it, or just I'd be in this black box of not knowing. So yeah, I think that's what's surprised me the most, is just the ongoing effort and like really caring about people is nice. And it's nice to feel like there's people who care about you.
Yeah, but it's always
and
good.
Your success. Yeah. The brand is called Terrakaya, and we have created this concept of a single underlayer that you could do anything in. And basically started it in 2016 because me and a few other gals that live a more outdoor lifestyle, we generally couldn't find any sports bras that fit and also would function outdoors. So we were like, why do we have these, multiple items, sports bras, swimsuits, cupped bras, whatever they are, none of which fit and none of which really do what we want them to do? Why don't we just make one item that does that and actually fits and looks good? So we attempted to work with an ad agency, and I did not know anything at that point in terms of like how to create creative that was going to convert, how to direct a company that was going to create creative for me. And so we started working with them, and it was like reasonably expensive for where I was at in the business. It was something like $2,000 a month just for their fees outside of the spend, maybe 2,500, something like that. And we pretty quickly realized that like what they were producing creative wise was not gonna really work for our customers. It was a little bit on the like fringe side. And we have a really niche, customer base. And so they're kind of sensitive to that, like they're not going to fall for these just kind of cookie cutter ads. And I tried to communicate that to them, but like it wasn't really getting through. And when we did finally get some creative and get it out there, it was like definitely producing negative ROAS. We were like losing money. So it was like to be spending all that and then not making anything on, and they had this like, okay, you got to work with us for 6 months, which I get, but anyways, so that partnership ended, and I ended up just kind of taking a big risk with purchasing the For Good Profit program. The way I saw it, I was like, I've been trying to do this myself, or with, try to outsource it to have someone else do it for so long and wasted so much money on it, that I might as well just use that money and invest in me learning it and seeing if that works, to try something different. And after going through the program and creating some creative and learning the process of defining winners and testing them and confirming that they work, I am like just very, very happy I made that decision, because I realize now that the creative that works for my audience is so specific and unique and niche that there's just no way any ad agency would have ever come to that conclusion. And it was all kind of like locked in my brain, and I don't think anybody else would have been able to pull that out of me either. What's so special about that is like I just have this new pillar under the table that's holding the table up that I know I can rely on. Like I can scale it as I need, as I'm ready for with inventory. I can add new creative. I understand that process. And before, for probably the first 4 or 5 years, like I don't even know where sales were coming from. They were just coming in, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to wake up and there's going to be $0 in sales, or if there's going to be, $1,000 in sales. And it was mostly just word of mouth, and I don't know, just scraping by somehow. But now it just is so much more predictable, and that I think has given me a huge sense of calm and confidence in making those bigger production orders, because I know, okay, yeah, I can scale this up. I can sell through this inventory in this timeline. It's just going to be a matter of, getting the inventory and then planning the timeline with which to sell through it. And it's been a pretty tough 5 years, I would say. Like there was the pandemic in between there, the economy is all over the place. There's been all kinds of different competitors that have come into the space. There's been developments with people really demanding better expectations of what kind of fabric they're using. And as a small grassroots business, it can be really hard to keep up with that if you're not, a big corporation that, can develop a new fabric or can, spend thousands on, not thousands, but more basically on thousands of yards of fabric. I think once I started the program, I basically immediately started worrying less. I would say as I was doing the program, there were definitely fluctuations of me panicking and being like, oh my God, I can't afford it. And thankfully, like I would hop on a call and Joseph usually would be like, okay, chill out. Which sometimes is all you need. If you're stuck in your head, and if you're stuck in a state of scarcity or a state of panic, not knowing where your revenue is going to come from, you're really hyper focused. Like you have this tunnel vision of panic. And sometimes you need somebody who has the experience of working with bigger amounts of money or with more scaled businesses to just be like, here's the perspective for you. Your situation actually looks really good. You just, basically have to believe in the scale that it can get to. And I think, one of those calls in particular was just very helpful for me. It kind of just like knocked a screw back into place. And I was like, oh, that's right. I just need to think bigger. Because I just was really, I think just being in that nervous system state of panic for so long had kind of gotten me stuck there. It's also so much more than just the like scaling with the meta pipe that you get out of this program. Like I'm currently in several threads talking about, which financial accounting software system to use. I've been able to kind of connect with other people that are experiencing the same things as me and get advice on a whole variety of things, not just this Facebook pipe thing. And it's kind of fun. It feels like you have this network of people around the world that are all in the same bucket as you, doing the same thing, in various ways and cheering each other on and getting through the hard parts together and leveling up together. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you often don't have people around you that make you feel like they are expanding your mind. It's usually you're the one expanding their mind because you're the one out there taking the risks and doing creative thinking. And it's rare that you're surrounded by people that are expanders. And I think in this community, I'm just surrounded by people who are expanding my mindset, which feels like I'm getting like a super boost in terms of my mindset, which, I think that's the most valuable thing. Just do it and do it ASAP and do it knowing that, I don't know, you're investing in something that is so much bigger than just a Facebook pipe. Even though that is the thing that's going to bring in the money, you're like investing in upgrading your mindset so that you can then become the person that is going to make all that money. And then on top of it, where you're getting the blueprint of how to do it. So it's like you're getting this like personal upgrade and the blueprint. And it's a win-win.